and welcome here to TalkFCB, and welcome back to the channel here today, guys, where again, it's an incredible feeling. It feels absolutely amazing right now at Barca, and of course today, we are going to be talking more about the 5-1 demolition of Real Betis. They're talking about some of the incredible individual performances we saw. Lamine Yamal, he was spectacular, and I will never ever tire of talking about his genius. We're also going to be talking, though, about the team, about the collective there. We have to talk about the false nine system that we saw there implemented by Hansi Flick. We've got lots of quotes coming up from Flick himself. More as well on Ansu Fati's future at Barca. And I'd also like to talk with you guys about some Victor Font quotes from this morning aimed in the direction of Jules Laporta, and I think they really do need addressing. So all of that is on the way. I can't wait for it. Thank you indeed for joining me. And let's do this. But I do have to kick off right here today, guys, with something quite extraordinary, I've got to say. Because when I saw this super thanks in yesterday's match review, I was absolutely staggered here. The biggest one we have ever seen on the channel from the Armenian Santa Claus, and he is certainly bringing the presents here. I really cannot thank you enough for that. The generosity there is absolutely extraordinary. He says, "Hi Jamie, I think that we can win the Champions League." And look, I absolutely agree with you on that one there. I've said many times this season that based on the way that Barca are playing, and especially in the biggest of games, in the biggest of moments, it's all about peak level. You know, the Champions League is all about turning up when it really matters there, when the stakes are high, when the pressure is on, and against the best teams, you need to have a different level. You need to be able to go to a different level. Now, in the past seasons, we haven't seen Barca achieve that. We haven't seen us be able to really go toe-to-toe with the best. But look at what we've done so far this season. Look at the big games. Look at the kinds of performances we're putting in. We are right there in the hat. We have to continue on this path. We have to continue improving as well. But believe me, we are right there, and we have started this year sensationally. Because certainly after our latest performance last night, guys, Hansi Flick was very happy with the team. He said, "I liked the team's performance. We knew that it would be difficult, that it would be tricky coming off the back of Sunday, but he said we know about the mentality of this team. The players are very professional, and it was important to see how the team recovered and how we played from the very beginning of the game." And I think Flick here and all of us fans was just so happy to see again Barca rise up, Barca play at the same level, because what we're looking for here is consistency. We are looking to put together a run of results, a run of performances here which match that level of intensity that we saw in the Clásico against Real Madrid. And let me just say, guys, if we keep starting games in this way here, if we keep seeing these absolutely dominant first half performances, well, then we're going to be able to rotate. Then we are basically going to be able to do whatever we want to do in the second half. And I think that should be our ambition. That should be our aim here, to try and put games to bed as quickly and as efficiently as we possibly can, because then you can keep the players fresh. Then you can keep the team ticking along nicely. And again, yesterday, that was the perfect illustration of that. But when you are looking at some of the individual displays yesterday, Hansi Flick there was full of praise for Pedri. He said he is one of the players with the best performances in all of the matches there. In terms of that consistent level, Pedri is right up there. He said we need somebody to control the game, and he is perfect. He is everywhere. He said it's incredible how he understands football. And when you look at the data as well, he said, you also realise that he runs a lot too. He works very hard, along with doing all of the amazing things with the ball. And I completely agree with that there. Pedri this season, in terms of the all-round game, of course, the assists are outstanding, the way that he's involved in really every single goal. In terms of the build-up, it often starts with him. But overall, you know, the way that he does run, the way that he does cover ground there, the way that he's complemented Marc Asado, of course, at the base of that midfield for so many brilliant games this season. Pedri is having a wonderful campaign, and he's working really well in Hansi Flick's system, which is fantastic to see. But what about Jules Kounde, guys? Because I have to say here, yesterday, he was top draw. He was absolutely fantastic. And what is the best thing about Kounde right now is that he really has just returned to what we were seeing earlier on in the season from him, when he was incredibly dominant on that right side, going forward defensively, wherever he picked up the ball, he could be a real asset to this team. And it's another player, though, who we have to look after, because I think this is really evidence again that towards the end of the year, he just burned out a bit. You know, he is somebody that plays a lot of games, a lot of minutes. We really depend on him in that right back area, and we have to make sure we avoid that, because we want to be seeing Kounde at this level here. We want to be seeing him getting forward there, having so much energy to constantly go beyond Yamal. And he also suffered, don't forget, in this team when Yamal was out injured. The two as a duo are absolutely fantastic there. They work together, they understand each other so well. We saw that on full show yesterday. He deserved to leave this game with 2 goals. He very nearly did. And those finishes, they were absolutely incredible, and we definitely want to see more of that from him. But hey guys, speaking about the man himself, speaking about Lamine Yamal, I mean, what can you say? What can you actually say about his performance last night and his performance every single game? He is unbelievable. Like, I still can't believe it. We do watch him every week. We watch him every single Barca game. We've seen him come into this team, grow, and we've all known about the talent, and yet he still shocks us. He is still able to do things that leave us speechless. It was a dazzling display from him yesterday, and that is why after the game, Gavi came out and said in an interview to a reporter after the match that Yamal, he is the best player in the world right now. He just said it. He said, yeah, he's the best player in the world. He said, obviously, you can't really compare players, you know, with Messi. We hear Messi comparisons. Nobody can compare with him. You've got to be your own player. But he said right now, Lamine's level is absolutely extraordinary, and those are glowing words, and they are also, though, very fair words, because even Flick then, he was asked about Gavi's statements. He said Gavi is a bit emotional. He laughed there at that, but he said, you know what, I'll say that too. In big games, you see the great talents, and he has shown it so many times there, Lamine Yamal, but we have to take care of him. He is still very young. I think that's an important point here. As much as we love to watch him, we've spoken about taking care of Yamal in terms of fitness, in terms of recovery there and avoiding injuries, but of course he also has to deal with a huge pressure at Barca, and the way that right now everybody is starting to talk more and more about him. But that's the thing about Yamal, it doesn't seem to faze him. You know, he takes everything out there in his stride. He doesn't take himself or the football too seriously. He's very focused, he's very concentrated on his job in the team. But he goes out there and he has fun. And he really doesn't seem to feel pressure. He doesn't seem to feel that weight of expectation on his shoulders. And that is amazing, you know, to be at his age, to be at a club like Barcelona, to be one of the vocal points of that team at that age, and not even to feel the pressure. That is extraordinary, and that is simply not normal at all. And of course we all know that he grew up idolising Neymar Jr., along with Messi of course, but Neymar was somebody who he loved watching, who he also loves now as well to imitate. And we're seeing him now, you know, out there on the field, again, really enjoying replicating some of those Neymar moments, some of those Neymar celebrations, and you can see the influence of these kinds of players there, Neymar, Messi, on his game. You know, the way that he carries the ball, his clarity of thought there, his work in the final third. You know, Yamal is somebody who really is special. And we have to keep saying that here. This is not just about a talented player, you know, somebody who's got quality, somebody who's doing good things at a young age. This kid is special. And it's not just about Barca for me. It's not just about watching him here as a Barcelona fan. But in my opinion, football needed this. We have lost players, you know, not only at Barca, but in the European leagues, like Messi, like Neymar. We don't have them. They're not around anymore. You know, every player eventually comes towards its end. And that's where Yamal comes in. That is where this young, talented, exciting, jaw-dropping player is upon us now. And he's wearing the Barca shirt. This is special. This is a moment that everybody needed. And I just can't wait to see more of him. I cannot wait to see what he's going to do in his career here. But indeed, guys, another player who played very well last night against Real Betis, and even more so given that he was playing in a relatively unfamiliar position, it was Dani Olmo, who was actually deployed by Hansi Flick there as the most advanced player there in that sort of false nine role. And Flick did come out and say after the game that Olmo, he knows can play well in that position. He said he's already seen him do it with Spain, and he was an extra player for us in midfield. And Flick thought the distance between the players was absolutely perfect. And I've got to say, guys, I love the false nine. I absolutely love that performance there from everybody in the attacking areas yesterday at Barca, because I just loved having so many different players in there who can move around, who can make runs there, who can be very, very fluid. They weren't just locked to one position. They could combine with each other. You know, the combination play yesterday was absolutely impeccable. And you just get so many different options, so many different looks there to try and make your way through Real Betis. And I've got to say, they never saw it coming. You know, I think Real Betis would have come out in yesterday's game and thought, what on earth is going on? You know, who am I picking up? Where are the runs coming from? Where should I be? You don't know. And that's the really exciting thing about a system like this where people can move around. And I really like the fact that Flick tried it, you know, because he wasn't forced into the decision. He had Ferran Torres on the bench, he had Pau Victor, who could have played as the forwards, and he could have even forced Lewandowski to play. But he actually saw it as an opportunity to try something new, to switch things up here. And that's really important in a long season with so many different games. We've got to find different solutions. We've got to keep trying to keep things as fresh as we possibly can. And I thought it was a great decision yesterday from Hansi Flick, I've got to say. And I thought the way that he played the whole game out there, the lineup, the new system, the things that he tried, the subs that he made, Flick got yesterday's game absolutely spot on. And I'm loving the way that he started the new year here. He has started as he means to go on. And I would also just say, I'd happily see that again. I would happily see that false nine system tried out in more games, you know, where possible, where applicable. Did you guys like it? Did you enjoy it? And would you too like to see it more? However, guys, as we have been saying now for several games in a row, it's not actually rosy here at Barca for every single player right now. And one of those who is very much on the outside of all of this, it is Ansu Fati. He has been left out of the squad now for 3 successive games. He wasn't included yet again in the squad for yesterday's match. He watched it there from the stands, and I also saw him maybe leave the game before the end of the match there. He was sitting alongside Ter Stegen. He wasn't there towards the end. And he's obviously not feeling good right now. He doesn't really know what his future holds. Barca want him to leave the club. It hasn't happened yet in January, but you'd feel that if he wants to play football, if he wants to be involved in a team here, it is not going to be at Barca in the near term at least, because Hansi Flick was asked about it after the game. And again, you're going to get honesty from him. You know, he's going to tell you very, very clearly whether you are or aren't in his plans. And he said with Ansu, why have I stopped counting on him? He said, we have fewer injuries. That means I have to decide the squad based on what I see in training. And he said at the beginning of the season, I said that Ansu looked very good. But with the injuries, he must train hard and show that he is improving. And I actually think that that is quite a damning quote about Ansu Fati, and maybe what we are seeing in the training sessions. Because yeah, in the summer, Flick was very, very excited about Ansu. He was really looking forward there to trying to help him recapture his best level. But it seems to me, based on those words there, Flick has not seen that in training. He has not seen maybe there an urgency to show the kind of level that he has again, to show the improvement that he's made since the injuries. And ultimately, Flick is saying, look, there's not been enough progress. You have not really been able to show me enough to justify being in the squad and ultimately being in the team. So Flick has very much made his mind up. Ansu is not in his plans. And now we're going to see what happens in the next few weeks in this January window. But indeed, with everything that is going on the field right now, I think it's also still important just to keep an eye out on what is happening off it. And I did want to talk about these big quotes from Victor Font this morning, because he has been doing quite a lot of talking. You know, he felt the need to come out and do a whole interview off the back of Laporta's press conference earlier on this week there. And he said Joan Laporta is confusing himself with the club. He said that's a dangerous thing to do in political movements. He said, who is Laporta to decide who is a good or bad Barcelona fan? El Chiringuito and Florentino are now his allies there. So Font really hitting out at Laporta. And I think the thing with Victor Font that I don't really like, you know, at times, is that he often talks even if the team are doing very well, you know, on the field here, he doesn't really seem to care about causing and creating a distraction. So to say there that Laporta ultimately, you know, isn't the club, may not really care about the club, or is putting his own interests ahead of that, well, it seems to me like Victor Font is kind of doing the same thing here. He's sort of speaking for personal gain. Even though the team are doing very well right now, doing well on the field, we're still coming out with big quotes like this that could really destabilise things. Because he then said, and this is the thing that really did anger me, I've got to be honest, I am still asking Laporta to resign. He said the situation with Laporta is worse than with Bartomeu. The debt is higher, the income is the same, and we spend more or less the same. Now, can I just stress here, that is nonsense. Now, I myself have been critical of Laporta recently. I think we have to do that. We have to hold people accountable. But ultimately, we said we want Laporta to up his game. We don't believe here there's people outside of the club who could come in and do a better job. And I don't believe that is Victor Font, because what you will often hear from him is lots of criticism here, lots of shots being fired at Laporta. He's never once come out and said, oh, I've got a plan for this. You know, I know what to do. And it's very easy to talk about it being worse than Bartomeu when you weren't the one that came into the club, when it was on the verge of bankruptcy. So we have come a long, long way from that. You only have to look at the wage bill. That is the most important thing here. It is the club's biggest expense by a mile, and that has been massively reduced while still being competitive. You know, that's the most important thing here. We've lowered the wages massively, and yet we are still seeing a team right here who are able to compete and who are doing this season under Hansi Flick. So I thought those Font words were not appropriate, simply not true. Talking about Bartomeu and Laporta, they are not the same. Let's never, ever fall into that trap, guys. So I had to talk about those words there a little bit with you, but hey, let's not let that ruin our mood. We are on a high. We are flying right now, Barca, and all of us here, we cannot wait until the next game. I will be back here tomorrow with all of you guys to talk about our meeting against Getafe on Saturday. Thank you indeed for tuning in. Let me know all of your thoughts down below, and I will see all of you soon. But until next time, guys, as always, Vejka, El Barça.